Hi, my name is Singh and we're broadcasting from New Jersey on behalf of Stanford Online High School students from around the globe. So, hello world. With us here today is Mr. Sudhanshu Vats. He's the Group CEO of Viacom 18.
Hi Tej, how are you?
Good, it's a good pleasure having you on the show today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. So I was reading online and it seems like Viacom 18 has such an impressive reach. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, as you know, India is a big country. There are 1.3 billion people in India, and there are close to about 180 television homes in India, 180 million television homes. So Viacom 18 has a big reach. We reach out to about 140 million television homes, which is a large number, as you know, and we are very proud of it. So 140 million television homes would roughly translate to close to about 600 million Indians.
And so it seems like even with that such of a high number, there still is immense potential for growth as India is an emerging market. What sector of your company do you think holds the most potential for growth, whether it be movies or television or a Voot app, which is you just released? It allows for on-demand viewing of shows and movies.
Yeah, India in media sector as well, Tej, like in many other sectors, has enormous potential for growth, and there are huge tailwinds because we are under-indexed on everything. Now, if you look at our own sector, if you look at television, we are under-indexed on viewership time, number of viewers as well. So I told you, while there are 180 million television homes, there are total number of homes in India is close to about 270 million homes. So there are still 90 million homes who will get television. And then the viewership in India is close to about 3 hours, 9 minutes. That number is about 4 hours in Southeast Asia and is as high as 6 hours in the developed world. So there is enormous potential in television. And internet is another thing which is booming. We've got about 350 million internet users at the moment, but the potential is to almost double it in the next 3 to 4 years. So if I was to pull out two key areas, I would say television and digital. Films as well, we are under-screened and there is room for growth in films also, but I would pull out these two as television and digital are our key areas for growth as we go forward.
Yeah, makes sense. So is there a big difference in the revenue model between Viacom 18 in India and then the larger parent company of Viacom in the US where they get most of their
Yeah, there is a fundamental difference. In India currently, for television particularly, the revenue model tends to be more advertising dependent. So basically our revenue comes largely from advertising. Our revenue from subscription at this moment is very low. So, and whereas if you look at US, and which is true for most developed markets, and it's true for Viacom as a cable company as well in US, the revenue comes almost 50-50 from advertising and subscription. So there is greater leverage as far as we are concerned in India to grow our subscription incomes and basically bring our subscription revenue almost on par with our advertising revenue. And that would be really good for us.
Yeah, it's interesting, such a disparity between the US and the Indian markets.
Yeah. So that's the key thing. So I think, basically because subscription tends to be low in India, you get about 200 to 300 channels for close to about $4 per month per person. So I think ARPUs on subscriptions are very low, but as these ARPUs grow, and on top of it, the accountability of this, actually the addressability of the consumer is still very weak. So as India digitizes and as the ARPU grows, so both addressability and growth in ARPU will grow our subscription incomes.
Interesting. So are there any new technologies Viacom's experimenting with in India that consumers should be excited for in the future?
So in media, we need to keep experimenting, Tej, with new technologies. And what we are now looking at are a couple of things. We are basically looking at AR, VR for sure. We are looking at some of those in our kids space. We are looking for some of that in our reality space. The other thing which we're very excited about in terms of technology is we are also looking at how do we sort of bring in accompanied viewing, and therefore what do we do with the second screen, or the second instrument or second screen which most consumers are hanging on to. So if you look at it now, most people watch television. As they watch television, they also are playing with their other device, like a small screen, a mobile and all that. So what do you do? So accompanied viewing and use of those screens is an important phenomenon. And finally, we are working on technology for more targeted advertising. So in India, you can do more targeted advertising. It's a very diverse country. You can target different states, different cities separately. That is another technology. So these three key pieces which we are working on.
It looks exciting for the future, a lot of potential. So moving on to the segment about our high school, because that's where most of our audience is. What was your high school experience like? Did you have any particular teachers or courses or any memories that impacted you or that you still use from or pull from today?
No, I had a fantastic time in my high school. So, and I was in a boarding school, so therefore we enjoyed ourselves. We did a lot of things. So, we did theater at one end. I used to play cricket at school, and we would do debating and the debating societies and so on and so forth, along with all the studies. So, and there are lots of teachers. I think it would be incorrect for me to name anyone at the moment, but I've been inspired by a bunch of teachers. I think the gentleman who used to teach us theater, to the lady who taught me how to talk in English and do all the debating, to a lot of teachers I admire, I think, who were there at high school, and they played a big role in shaping me. And as a matter of fact, if I can go to the extent of saying, as shaping all of us in that high school. So we were very fortunate. We could do so many things, and it was a fantastic time.
So looking back, is there something, suppose you had an extra 10 hours a week, or if you could, tell yourself, your younger self, to focus more on one aspect that would have helped you more today? Is there anything, that comes to mind so the current crop of high schoolers can learn from and hopefully use their time wisely?
So I personally feel if I had a little bit more time, I would devote that time, one, to more reading. I could have done more reading. I think that's important if you do much more reading, and reading on diverse subjects. I think one could find a little bit of time, but you could do a lot more reading on diverse subjects. And I think the second thing I would do if I had a little bit more time is to be able to do some life sports a little bit more. So if I could, in those days, swim and run a little bit more, which, as you know, I run now. Yeah. But I think if you could sort of do a lot more of those. So I think picking up some life sports, along with one of the sport which I was playing, and being able to read more would have been really good.
So our audience doesn't know, but you run marathons, right? Is it your hobby, or how often do you run, or
yes.
What do you like about running in particular, other than?
So I run marathons regularly, Tej. You're absolutely right. I've been running now for 10 years. So, and I'm a sub 4-hour runner. So I run at about, from a US perspective, about 7 miles an hour. So that's roughly the pace at which I run, 6.5 to 7 miles. Running is a passion for me. And I find running really reflective. It is my time. It's a time I sort of and also the good thing about running is all you need is a pair of sneakers, right? And shorts and t-shirts, and you're out. And any place you go to, if you walk and you run, you can smell the place, you can see the place, you can sense the place. So it's like living, and I really enjoy running in the out.
So moving back to high schoolers, is there a general message you have?
So my key message for high schoolers is this is the best time, actually, of their life, and therefore it was of our life. Make the most of it. I would leave 2 messages. Explore yourself. Do different things. See what you like, what you don't like. I think that's the key thing. And the related point which I have is stretch yourself. I think this is the best time. I think we should stretch ourselves so that we know what the potential lies, both, so therefore that's very important for us. So explore various things and stretch oneself, both mentally and physically. I think that's the best time to be able to do that.
Wow, quite inspirational. So, let's think about some of the fun questions. If you could meet any person in history, who would it be?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Why? What's so inspirational about him that?
I was really moved with the transformation and whatever little I have read about him. And I think if you see how he first followed, basically did his education, he was a barrister at law. First he tried to follow the society, to belong to the society, to follow the norms. And then he found himself, he discovered himself, and then he did something which nobody had done. So he got independence to a country like India, such a large country, without any bloodshed. It is the most amazing freedom movement which one could read about, and I think he's very inspirational.
Yeah, and our previous guest, Craig Kielberger, his person was also Gandhi. He's an activist, and or founder of We Day, and does a lot for children. So moving on to from a person to an event, is there any event you wish you could have witnessed or taken part of in history?
Yeah, so if I could have been part of the independence movement or the Quit India movement specifically, I would have really enjoyed it.
What was it?
The Quit India movement was a silent again revolution done by Mahatma Gandhi and all the leaders at that time in India, and how they said that we have the right to rule ourselves. So I think what they called Swaraj basically. And I think that was a fundamental movement, which then independently led, which led to the independence of India. So I think that's an event which I would have been really proud to be associated with. To be in those times, the world was also a very interesting place stage at that time. So there was World War happening at one point in time, but in the world, World War II, as you know, there was independent movements happening in many nations, including India. And therefore, this entire discovery of freedom overall, I think, even in a country like US, I think it's about the expression of freedom and freedom for everything. Well, freedom for franchise for both genders, freedom for franchise for different colors. So I think it was a fascinating time to have been in the world.
Certainly, it was a pivotal moment in India's history. So, is there? We'll just move on to for a guest. It's a segment called This or That. So we'll give Mr. Vats, one or two options, and he has to just quickly respond.
The rapid fire questions.
Right, exactly. So, would you rather have one wish granted today or 3 in 10 years?
One today.
Would you rather be able to stop time or fly?
Fly.
Online shopping or shopping in a store?
Shopping in a store for me.
Would you rather be able to read everyone's mind all the time or know their future?
Read everyone's mind.
Would you rather win an Olympic medal or an Academy Award?
Olympic medal.
If you could trade lives with any person in the world other than Mahatma Gandhi, who would it be?
After Mahatma Gandhi, I would say it would be Martin Luther King.
Okay. Both, important people who played in civil rights. So, if you could be the CEO of any company other than Viacom 18, what would it be?
It would be Google for me at the moment.
And what's the best professional advice you've been given?
So the best professional advice I've been given was actually that, you should keep learning all the time, Tej. I think for us, we are learning all the time.
Yeah.
So I actually learned from you as well in this interview. So for me to be able to continue to learn as we go forward and all the time is important. And I think that's the most critical professional advice.
So we sincerely appreciate him taking time out of his busy schedule to be with us here today and inspiring, hopefully not only the Stanford OHS community, but youth around the country and perhaps around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.